Summer's winding down, kids are heading back to school, and the universe is slowly dying. So what better time to treat yourself to some brand new Second Wind merch? Because while all of life's problems can't be solved by spending money, some of them can. The long-awaited Adventurers Nigh plushies are finally available for pre-order, so it's time to build your own dungeon-crawling party with Mortimer, Sigmar, Grinderbin, and Dabarella. I mean, just look at that spoon. On the more wearable front, head down to the Design Minds with Jay and Ludo, show off the Second Wind pets, or explain to your confused loved ones what the hell this means. My man. All available in a variety of colors. Just look at that Good Blood shirt. So teal, so peaceful. And celebrate our first annual Patreon-voted Fully Ramblematic with these Yahtzee, Jedi, and Sith pins for Knights of the Old Republic. Star Wars. It makes people on the internet angry. Head on over to sharkrobot.com/second-wind or click on the link in the description to get your hands on all the new goodies today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Windbreakers podcast. I'm Yahtzee Crowshaw. I'm joined by Jay and Marty, as always.
Hello.
Marty, who is presently a dog, I notice.
Oh,
thanks,
no.
Eric.
How did that happen
You're
so quickly?
always a pleasure to have you around.
Eric literally said he's feeling under the weather, so he won't be doing goofs. I feel like he purposely set a low bar to trick us.
He said that to lure you into a false sense of security, apparently.
It worked.
But getting back on topic, if we ever have a topic these days, in celebration of the release of our new occasional series, Battle Masters, this very morning, you might have seen about 2 hours ago, we thought we'd talk about self-imposed challenges in games, the way we like to make games harder for ourselves, because Battle Masters is designed to be a series where we compete against each other at weird gaming challenges. In today's case, perhaps not so weird. It was just who can ring the bell in Dark Souls first. But of course, the twist there was that it was specifically a bell, not a specific bell.
Yeah, and without giving our hand for future episodes, we might be doing very familiar games, but having to play them in very unfamiliar ways.
Yes, like we used to do with Uncivil War back when Stephanie Sterling was around.
100%. Yeah. I'm not sure if we want to spoil it, right? Like, go watch the episode.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Well, I could just say, "Fuck you, Jay."
Yeah, we could say that.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a general, like across the board. It doesn't even have to be relating to the episode.
I get that.
A nice Monday F off. Yeah.
I apologize for disappointing everyone who assumed I'd place higher. But I think 15 minutes is pretty respectable.
I think absolutely.
And my run was like butter smooth when I was playing it. I didn't die once. I didn't lose any time. My problem was just choosing too conservative a route.
You would have got style points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just got all the points by having most.
Yeah. Yes, well. There's only one first place, isn't there? I absolutely should have picked up a gold pine resin for the gargoyle fight. I really got bogged down there.
It helped a lot. I was using a dagger, and I absolutely rinsed them with pine resin.
Anyway, everyone go watch Battle Masters after you're done watching this, obviously, because it's a lot of fun, and we have a lot of fun making it, and we've got more episodes coming soon.
Hell yeah.
I trust. But more broadly, we wanted to talk about self-imposed challenges in games. None too subtly, because I'm hoping some of the viewers might suggest a couple we hadn't thought of. We could add to our big list of possibilities for going forward for Battle Masters. But to kick things off with the thumbnail, my personal favourite self-imposed challenge is to play Thief 2 with no quick saving and no saving in the middle of a mission.
So like permadeath in a way.
Sort of, yeah. Because Thief 2, of course, is a mission-based game where you sneak into like an open-ended house that you're trying to loot. And try to avoid getting caught by the guards and try to complete a number of objectives. But I think what makes Thief really fun is that it's sort of an immersive sim. And even if you do get caught by the guards, there's a lot of things you can do to extricate yourself from your fuck-up. And I think sort of putting yourself in that sort of do-or-die situation where you can't reload a save makes the game all the more fun. It means you have to think about what you're going to do if things get fucked up in a heartbeat. Are we going to start flash bombing dudes, or are we just going to run away and hide in a cupboard somewhere?
And so to be clear, you do this sort of on a level by level basis. It's not like I screwed up in a level and now I have to go back and replay everything beforehand. It's kind of like
the game's very chapter based. There's like a it's like Hitman in that respect.
Yeah,
you get a whole briefing video and things in between the levels.
Do you reckon you could do a permadeath run? Like if you die, you're done, and your kind of runs over with your knowledge of that game.
I don't know. It feels like setting yourself unnecessary stress. You know,
It's self-imposed challenge.
I mean, just play it mission by mission and then stitch together all your winning runs into a single video if that's what you want to do.
You're the battle master now,
and no one need be the wiser.
This reminds me a lot of. I'm usually not super into stealth games. But I got really into Hitman when Hitman 3 came out a few years ago. And I think part of it was because the game is built in that way to, like, there is so much improvisation built into the mechanics and the level design and everything, and even the objective design, that no matter how badly I screwed something up, there was sort of a way out. Like a creative way out of a situation, which I kind of love, because a stealth game where it just feels like everything is like you need to do it this way and this way alone, like doesn't feel like it has that same creative freedom.
There's a lot of games that just have stealth as an element where it's just sort of a precursor to combat. Like the moment you fuck it up, you just have to take down the rest of the enemies in standard combat style.
Or the opposite, which is what I hate the most, which is you can get caught and then go hide in a cupboard, but then the enemies just go, "Oh, okay," and then walk back to their default positions. I hate that. If I see that in stealth, I'm done. I'm okay.
I like embracing my fuck ups. Like if I'm playing Half-Life and I'm just accidentally pressed the contact grenade button while I've got the assault rifle out, and it blows off in my face, and I'm end up on like 20 health. I usually just go, right, well, I'm going to own this. I'm going to play conservatively for the extra challenge until I can get some health back.
I want the enemies to have a reaction, right? Like if I walk into a room and alert them to my presence, I don't want them to just go back to their cycle. I want them to be like, oh, well, people are trying to get into this room. Let's lock these doors, or like let's change the environment in this way, and so they're kind of reacting to.
That's what I always loved about the Arkham style Predator mission. Because a lot of games ripped off the Arkham-style Predator mission, but they disregarded the most important ingredient, which was that the Predator mission escalates the more people you take out.
Yeah.
The enemies get more twitchy. They start moving in pairs and uncovering each other's backs. And when they're really scared, they just start firing randomly into the air and start shooting on a hair trigger. And
blowing up the various gargoyles, so you have fewer places to kind of perch out.
And a lot of games have the Predator mission where you just take out a guy and everyone just goes, there's one less of us. Weird. And then back to the usual routine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny replaying a lot of the older Metal Gear games. That's the same thing where it's like, well, I guess nothing's wrong. Like, I'll just revert back to how I felt before. But nice. That sort of the gradual escalation also reminds me a little bit of when I was really into like GTA with 3 and GTA 4, especially like the 3 trilogy and 4. Just hopping in there, summoning or putting in cheat codes to get a bunch of weapons or vehicles, and then just seeing how long I can survive trying to accumulate 6 stars. It just becomes a completely different game to be like, all right, I'm gonna stand on top of this building and fire enough rockets to where they're sending like Comanche helicopters and tanks rolling down the street to try to get me.
I was always do them in the sense of, with GTA, I'd either do, you have to get to a certain location within this song's runtime.
I like that.
Super quick. Or you have to get somewhere without going on a road. So you have to like always drive on the pavements and then, or like go up on the hills and stuff. Dumb stuff,
The real challenge for me playing GTA 1, like the original top-down one, was to try to drive like a normal, upstanding citizen without hitting anything or going off the road.
It's funny. You can literally go to both sides of the spectrum. You could be like the world's worst criminal, or you could be like, can I get across this city, stopping at traffic lights and like trying to make like left-hand turns and staying in my lane.
Classic.
Speaking of GTA, there's a I believe he's a stand-up comedian who started streaming GTA 4 named Tom Walker. I'm putting a link to his channel in the chat. Who did this thing where he went in and turned up the traffic speed to like
Yeah.
10,000 times, and so just getting across the street is like a Herculean task. Of like, oh, these every other car is just a bullet waiting to just explode as second it hits you. Have you guys ever like actually gone in and like mucked things up with like physics or anything like that in like the back end of a game to try to like see, like, oh, how close can I come to actually breaking this thing?
Not intentionally. I know spoilers, but we were filming episode 3 of Battle Masters, and mine was fucked. So,
Go a little bit under the hood on that one.
wait for that.
Yeah.
But not intentionally. No, I tend to, all of the challenges I self-impose are usually mechanical ones that I can, keep hold
Keep
myself
tabs
to.
on. Yeah.
It wasn't exactly a self-imposed challenge, but I do remember fondly deciding tokenly to play through Resident Evil 4 with the infinite rocket launcher,
So fun.
which in
almost-
some cases makes the game a lot easier, and in other
Yeah.
cases can make the game slightly more easier to fuck up.
And Ashley kind of, I'm assuming, can die by blowback from the rocket launcher.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
because you can.
I never thought I'd hear the sentence "Ashley can die from blowback."
Yeah, she could die from blowback. I killed her by accidentally slashing her with a knife because I was trying to open a barrel and she stepped in front of the barrel. So it wasn't my fault. It was her
I
fault.
hate it.
Was that
I hate it when
was
that
that original or remake Resident Evil 4?
I think original, I want to say. Maybe it was remake. I played them both pretty close back to back, and I feel like I killed her several times in both games because I'm bad at that. I was thinking back to ones I've seen or done recently, and I just co-commented this one. But when Casey and I were replaying all the Half-Life games, and we got to Half-Life Episode 2, we decided, which I'm sure we were not the first people to decide this, that we wanted to carry the gnome as far as we could, which is the rocket. So we got the garden gnome, we named him David, and we took him all the way to the rocket to get him to space, which I believe is a achievement or something.
Yeah,
That's not a self-imposed challenge. That's a fucking achievement in that game. There's a similar one in
Also,
Left 4 Dead 2, I think.
Yeah.
and in Half-Life Alyx, which is really hard to do because you actively have to pick them up.
It was nuts, some of the things we had to do in order to be like, we need to shoot David over this wall and then get to the other side of it before the thing closes behind us. Like, there were times where we had to keep reloading our save to figure out, like, is it even possible? Like, have we screwed ourselves?
So fun.
And
though.
also his physics just go nuts inside of the car. When you're in the car, like, he doesn't know where he is, so you kind of just have to like jam him down like near the wheel well and just like hope that he stays in as you're going across the map.
I love the simpler challenge that just completely upends the way you play a game. Something like just keep this gnome with you. As I always love about Taskmaster, a simple challenge, but they just add one little twist that completely makes it really fun to watch people fail at.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, these games that kind of have this sort of choice like built into them. It's not even like you having to go out of your way for this. And two things I'm thinking of are the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, the way that when you are getting your upgrades after shrines, you can choose whether you want a heart or whether you want stamina. And the more I've played those games, the more I've just started up and just going a pure stamina run to see at what point do I feel like I need hearts, because once you have a ton of stamina wheels, like your options for what you can do in any given situation are increased. Like, you can climb over things, you can glide distances, you can do all sorts of things that you can if it's just
Risk
hearts.
reward is so nice.
But but you have to put up with the fact that you're going to die quickly.
Yeah.
There are occasional games I've played with not so much a self-imposed challenge, but more to prove a very cynical point. Where I just put, every time they ask me to pick one of 3 stats to up when I level up or something, I just go with the same one throughout the whole game, just to prove that this RPG element is completely vestigial and pointless.
Funny, yeah.
I remember doing that when I was playing the Flashback remake that was out on digital only.
Yeah.
I just put all the points into one of the stats because honestly, I didn't really get what the stats did in the first place, and none of it really made much of a difference to anything.
Yeah, I like a game where those upgrades like feel kind of immediate and tangible. I'm wrapping up my 1,000-Year Door replay, and I feel like those level ups always kind of feel meaningful, and I've been leaning just towards putting them in like badge points.
Yeah, because the
so,
numbers are so low. The numbers are so low.
Yeah.
It's you start off with like 3 hit points, and enemy attacks
Yeah.
do 1 hit point. That's a nice, easily to understand RPG element, I think.
Yeah,
Because
I
these
actually just
RPGs where you
watched
have
that.
like 1,922 hit points, and every enemy attack does 312. I feel like
Yeah.
you're sort of putting too many middlemen in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just
definitely.
watched a YouTube video by a guy named Daryl Talks Games who did this. It's sort of the psychology of damage numbers of like, do we get anything from seeing a character do 9,999 damage compared to seeing like a crazy hit in Paper Mario
Yeah.
doing 10?
Well, some might argue that there is a sort of unconscious cathartic element when you see bigger numbers.
Yeah, and there's like certain moments he pointed like directly to at the very end of Final
Mm.
Fantasy VII in your battle with Sephiroth. You could do like the ultimate attack against him, and each slash does like 9,999. So it feels like this really like climactic, like holy shit thing. I'm finally
It's
doing
context,
it.
right? I've
Yeah.
spoken about it in my videos of juxtaposition gratification and building up the context of what numbers mean. Because
Mhm.
in isolation, a 10 and a 999,000
Yeah.
don't mean anything. But within the context of what you've been doing for the last 20 hours, those numbers can mean
Yeah.
drastically different
Yeah,
things.
yeah. That's a
Also,
that's a great point.
the higher the number, the more divisible it is, which adds more flexibility to things.
Well, it's
Like
Sure.
you can't do half points of damage in Paper Mario, so you're kind of stuck with one kind of damage the whole game. But what
Mhm.
if instead of like jumping with your shoes, you had like dual daggers, and each one did half a point of damage? Adds a little more flexibility there.
World of
Yeah, yeah.
World of Warcraft has this problem. You're going to be hearing me talk about World of Warcraft a lot over the next couple of weeks, guys. My example after this is about WoW as well, but specifically
Nice.
about numbers. Every few expansions, World of Warcraft has to do they call them stat squishes, because
Hmm.
as you build power, it gets to the point where the bosses need to have tens of millions of health because your character's progressed so far that you are also doing millions of damage. And then they do a squish where the entire game takes this massive stat squish and boss health
Yeah,
comes
it
down.
gets kind of dumb when the standard enemy in like the 6th DLC could wipe the floor with the final boss fight of the original game.
Yeah.
This latest expansion actually did something really interesting. Usually, you build up your gear and you have the legendary swords and all of this bollocks. Then you go into the new expansion and the first bear you kill is holding a sword that is better than the legendary weapon you had in the previous expansion. But in this
Yeah.
one, they've kept the power. So I was as powerful and doing as much damage in the new expansion up until I capped as I was previously. So they're trying to keep that power level in the same area, and it felt really good. But yeah, to stay on WoW just for a second, one of my self-imposed challenges is in dungeons in World of Warcraft, you have 5 players, you have 3 people doing damage, you have a healer and a tank. So the tank's role is to take all of the aggression and the damage. And one of our things that we would do is when we would go and help our lower level friends, is we would either not take a tank or not take a healer and see if we could do the dungeons just with that, and just use our skill to do that. And I find that incredibly fun, and it's really rewarding, and another way to test yourself.
What
Yeah,
a big nerd you are.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To kind of think outside the box of like what the game's giving you.
Mm.
Yeah, like
yeah.
the Supergiant games do that in terms of like build your own challenge, not just on a difficulty
Right.
setting, but on
Meaning Bastion, Hades, Pyre, Transistor,
and
all of those.
Transistor. They'll unlock things at a certain point where you can kind of add modifiers to a run, and it's a push and pull where something is more difficult. Either enemies are more difficult or you have been debuffed. But in return, you usually get more XP or maybe a greater chance at certain rewards. And so, you're able to kind of choose how much you want to gamble on something. Like if you think you're having a pretty easy time, or you're like, oh man, my weapons feel really powerful, you could do the one to where enemies have, twice as much HP, but you get twice as much XP or whatever. So I kind of like it when those are built into the game that let me decide at a certain point if I want to do it, as opposed to just changing what the difficulty is wholesale.
I like silly creative challenges that people come up with. There's a whole like subgenre on YouTube of people playing Dark Souls. Like I've seen, like, who is it who does they have to play new game. Like they have to play the full game, then new game plus, and then new game plus for the original
God.
Dark Souls. And in
Yeah.
the first run, they can only use pyromancy. In the second run, they can only use sorcery, and in the third run, they can only use miracles.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Which is kind of nuts. But
Yeah.
I guess that's the kind of thing you have to do to keep yourself interested when you literally know everything there is to know about Dark Souls,
Well,
and it can no longer
Golden
surprise you
Run.
at all. Yeah.
The Golden Run is when you complete Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Sekiro, and Elden Ring in a row without being hit once. In
Oh,
any
they've added
Sauced.
Elden Ring to that now, have they?
Without being hit. What
And
happens when you
it's
get
been
like
done.
30 hours into something and you get hit? Do you just
restart.
Yes,
Speedrunners
yeah,
are
you
nuts.
continue on with your life?
Start again.
Yeah.
You start again. Apparently, you have very little else
They're
going
a
on in
different
your
breed.
life.
Yeah.
Speedrunners are a different breed. Like challenge.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one self-imposed challenge that I wanted to bring up because it's a special case, and that's in Firewatch. And the
Okay.
self-imposed challenge for this one is
The statue?
noteworthy in that it turns Firewatch into an actual fucking game, as opposed to a fucking walking sim. All you have to do is go into the options and unselect the thing that says that it always shows your position on the map.
Ooh.
And magically, by doing that, it turns Firewatch into an orienteering game that's actually kind of interesting, as well as a story. And
Yeah.
it's a shame they don't offer that option from the beginning.
It shows off that the game does have like good level design and sort of sight and horizon design. In that
Yeah.
if you kind of turn around, like you can, like the art in the game is obviously really striking, and so you can, similar to Breath of the Wild, you can look in a direction and kind of see points of interest and orient yourself. Yeah.
You navigate by landmarks with the map. It's fun.
And they must have
Yeah.
designed it from that perspective first, and then added the map marker.
I know the developers
Yeah.
were big fans of Miasmata. If you guys remember that game, that was like a first person kind of like survival horror game out in the woods where it was all about orienteering. Like you had your map and you would have to be like, okay, I see a tower over there and a river over there, so I guess where I need to go is in between those two.
But you could play through all of Firewatch never realizing there's an option to turn off the map marker. I feel like the game should have, when you select a new game, it should have presented the option for you.
Yeah,
Like
are you
select
here
the
for the
song.
story or here for a challenge or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, seems
That's
easy.
Should have
sort
been
of
an
thing.
accessibility feature to have the marker on the map, and
Yeah.
they should have done a Celeste and just warned you at the beginning. This game
Yeah.
is about orienteering. It's going to be difficult. Do you want a marker on the map?
Yeah, it's funny how some of those challenges, like you mentioned the Souls one, some of them kind of get a life of their own. Like I think the one that stands out to me most is the Nuzlocke challenge in Pokemon.
Yeah.
What's
And
that
that's
one?
through Pokemon games. So it is, you can only catch the first wild Pokemon you find in every area. So once you enter an area, the first wild Pokemon is the only one you can catch and add to your team. You can't catch any more. And if a Pokemon faints in battle, you can never use it again for the rest of the game.
It's dead.
Oh man!
Yeah. So it
the Pokemon slaughter.
yeah, so it like really like seeing those challenges of people, and like this has been implemented since the in the original game. So seeing people kind of get through and have to deal with the hands that they're dealt, like if they're hoping for a Pidgey and they get a Rattata or whatever, it's like, well, I got to deal with the fact that I got this fucking rat on my team and I don't have a cool bird.
And the runs are so different because of that, right? And
Yeah.
It's chaotic.
Yeah, which those are cool. And then one I've been kind of toying with getting into just because I know the two games so well are there's I'm sure we've all heard of randomizer runs for things, and it's they do them a lot with Nintendo games, with Zelda games, with Metroid games. But one combines Super Metroid and A Link to the Past, so that you have so that there are certain doors in A Link to the Past that you enter, and all of a sudden you end up in a certain place in Zebes in Super Metroid. But all of the items across both games are completely mixed. So you're going to find certain Super Metroid power-ups in A Link to the Past, and you'll find certain Link to the Past power-ups in Super Metroid. So you are ping-ponging between both games. And so you'll get like, oh shit, I found the bombs in Super Metroid, so now I can go back to Link to the Past and use the bombs on there. And so like the randomizer is kind of seeded in a way to where I believe each
so it's still possible.
one is possible. Yeah, it doesn't lock you behind something that is impossible, that you
That
need
is wild.
an item. Yeah. which is really cool. I've seen those done at GDQ, and those are always really kind of incredible to me because it makes me look at a game I feel like I know really well, and then be like, oh no, I don't know you at all.
Thinking about two games at the same time, right? And just combining that is so fascinating.
Yeah,
I messed around with a Castlevania Aria of Sorrow randomizer at one point, and I think I was playing it on stream. And then about halfway through, a random enemy just dropped the Clive Solish, which is the best sword in the game, and the rest of the game just sort of folded.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't really that fun. Okay. So I guess that's my issue with randomizer runs.
Yeah. There's also ones that I feel like aren't. This is less challenges and more of like playing a game, sort of experiencing something in a different way. Is that I know people have done calendar-based Persona runs to where most Persona games start in like April, and so you play along with like the actual calendar of the year. So you start your playthrough in April, and you play one in-game day every day. Yeah. You know, you're gonna have there's certain times you're gonna skip 2 weeks because
I guess the calendar people with a very severely small amount of free time in the day.
Yeah. Or if this is like your 5th time doing it. And then another one I'm actually close to finishing right now is there's a game called that came out at the end of July called Natsuman 20th Century Kid, which is a part of the Summer Vacation series, which is this old like going back to PS1 series of games that are a little bit like Animal Crossing, but it's kind of like cozy games where you're a kid on summer vacation just wandering around catching bugs, fishing, like doing random shit for the people in town. Kind of has like it has an indie feel, but it's something that's been around for like 20 years. But the latest one, you have 30 days in August to complete it, and so it's like in-game days. But I've just been playing one game a day this month on Switch. And an in-game day is like sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 25 minutes. But it's just like a really nice. It's just been like a morning routine of mine, and I'm about to wrap it up in a few days.
Mobile game. Imagine a mobile game that came out that you had to play over a year because it would only release small batches of content every day.
Yeah, which is like almost the Animal Crossing thing too, right? They have like certain celebrations for Christmas.
Manipulative because Animal Crossing is scummy.
Yeah, that was.
You think Animal Crossing scummy?
Dude, it's a planned video of mine I've had for years. If Animal Crossing had monetization, it would be considered one of the scummiest games ever made.
But the fact that it doesn't. But the fact that it doesn't, like,
I don't think encouraging players to play every day for specific.
It was Animal Crossing that discovered that you can do that to sort of get people addicted, and then the Facebook games sort of took that and ran with it.
You know what? It was a pandemic, and it came out, and it helped me get through it. So back off.
Well,
that's completely fair.
Yeah.
All right. What other specific challenges can we think of? Because we did a whole bunch of these in Civil War, which we could probably tap into for Battle Masters. Like one that I was fond of was playing the last level of Doom 2, but just seeing how long you can survive without firing a shot at anything. Because if you've ever played the last level of Doom 2, it continually spawns monsters for as long as you're there. Eternally.
Jesus.
Yeah, I like there's a
so you can't hide forever.
Yeah. It almost turns into like a game of tag where you're like trying not to get tagged by the enemies, but at a certain point you get overwhelmed. I like that. I like the idea that it takes the core of a game and strips your main verb away from you. Like if you took a how far can you get in blank game without jumping? Like a jump based game. I don't know.
I've seen plenty of those as well. How long do you get through each Mario game without touching a coin?
Yeah. Which
they find a way. People are mad.
Mario 64 without jumping or like doing something like that. And they're wild. Like, and that's what's so fascinating. And I hope, we can tap into with Battle Masters in the future, which is games where we have to find our own ways to do stuff without those verbs. Like,
like for example, playing
Mario 64.
Yeah, so one of the things we did on Civil War was get through the first world of Sonic without killing anything, which is surprisingly hard.
Because you just start going out of control and you're rolling in a ball and you're like, I hope there's nothing at the end of this at the end of this loop that I'm about to destroy.
He just goes flying. He won't be told, that hedgehog. He just won't be told.
It's because he's got Tood. That's the thing. Is you can't tell a man with Tood what to do.
Gotta go quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always there's certain games I've played a ton that have those kind of things that I've just never dug into. Like starting with Metal Gear Solid 2, there's like the dog tags thing to where you can hold up like almost pretty much every enemy in the game has a unique set of dog tags that if you hold them up and kind of shake them down, you could take them from. And I kind of never think about. I guess Metal Gear Solid 3 was the first game where you actually are forced to think about the things you have killed because you directly have to confront the number of enemies and animals you've killed in a certain boss fight. But like before that, I never thought about that. And so when you get to there, you're like, oh, I guess there are ways to just play through this. Almost, I guess, similarly to what we were talking about with Thief, of like a completely kind of pacifist run, which I think my brain is just not.
Pacifist run is like the preferred canon way of playing Thief. Like if you play on hardest difficulty, you're instantly failed if you kill anyone.
Yeah,
in Thief.
How do you guys,
that kind of perfection.
How do you guys feel about challenges? Let's say you're playing Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or something, and you're in a room because they always lock you in a room, and below your star meter or whatever, they have that challenge of like kill 4 of these enemies like within this time frame or whatever. How do you feel about challenges like that? Like the game is trying to get you to do, because they always turn me off. I'm like, oh, I don't do that.
Oh, like the specific challenge rooms in DMC or Devil May Cry, to where it's like completely optional, but you get extra orbs if you complete this thing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. It just puts me off. I'm like, I wish these were things that they would reward me for naturally playing rather than putting them down.
Yeah, I do kind of prefer. I like having almost like background objectives that I don't realize I'm working towards. And if you get a 50 hit combo or whatever, you get.
Then they're like, boom, here's a thing.
Boom,
and
here's some orbs.
To try and play to the height of my ability.
It was also weird in one of the Devil May Cry games when we were streaming it. People were like, "Oh, don't even go into any of the bonus rooms in this one because they're geared towards New Game Plus." And I'm like, "Well, why are they even here? Like, why? You know, I guess someone could beat them. I guess it's like the equivalent of like those opening bosses in all the Souls games, where it's like, well, 99% of you are going to get killed and then move on to the story. But if you're really crazy, you can beat whoever before you start the game."
I think pacifist runs in games like Thief and Deus Ex are kind of missing the point, because in those games you can knock people out and it's functionally identical to killing them. I feel like the more interesting challenge would be to not knock people out or kill them.
To just like a complete shadow run. Yeah.
I mean, it's just basically like a different verb that does the exact same thing. It like makes someone no longer a threat and removes them from the terrain. Maybe if like they woke up eventually, if you didn't kill them.
I was kind of going alongside not killing them. Eric mentioned, I believe in the chat, when we came up with this idea last week, that the way he was playing one of the Pikmin games was he would not allow any Pikmin to die, which is nuts, because like I feel like in the opening levels of Pikmin, you were like, I don't want any of these sweet little things to die. And then when you get later on, you're like, I will throw 100 of them at this thing, and as long as one survives, I will be happy. But like, I feel like that is like the equivalent of the kind of role playing we were talking about earlier, where Eric plays the game as like a cosmonaut who is like, well, I don't want any of these little critters to die, and I'm a good leader of critters, so I'm going to reload any challenges if any of these die, which seem like an absolute disaster. I do not think I could handle that.
Feels like playing Dead Rising 1 and trying to keep all the fucking NPCs alive.
And you're like, well, this just isn't going to work. Like someone's going to have to die here. Yeah, I never, obviously games like XCOM and games like Fire Emblem have the sort of permadeath modes to where, like Iron Man or whatever, to where if a unit dies, it is wiped from the game. And like I get that mentality of certain people where it's like, oh, every move really means something, but man, I just don't know if I want to like devote a ton of time and then be like, well, I don't have this thing anymore. And if it's not a story reason, like we bring up Pyre a lot, to where the story reasons for you lose your best units because you want to see them succeed narratively.
You know what makes for a fun narrative-based self-imposed challenge is to try to not lose any soldiers in XCOM.
Yeah,
because then you tend to get really attached to your dudes in XCOM.
Yeah,
because just by the simple act of characterizing them with names and nationalities, they sort of lends them all the more attachment in the minds of players.
I kind of need things to either be self-imposed and like I've done like no death runs on certain Souls games and stuff like that. I either need it to be self-imposed or an accident. One of my fondest memories in games is finishing BioShock 2 for the first time and getting the brass balls achievement, which is for not like respawning once. So I beat the entire game without dying. And I was like, holy shit. And it's like a core memory for me because I was like, I wasn't even trying to do that. And did it, and it was an accident that I got that achievement. And that's felt amazing rather than, oh, this game is giving me the option to try and do this thing. I've beat my head against a wall for ages. Oh, and I finally got it, and probably didn't get anything.
Huh? That's interesting. I like that achievement
there's some games, especially in the age of the survival crafter, where the self-imposed challenge is sort of essential for me to play the game. Like, that's how I always played Minecraft. I would have no interest in Minecraft if I didn't like give myself a task, like build a giant skull fortress with lava weeping out of the eyes.
I think that's some of the things
that's how
kinds
I
of games
maintained.
I can't grasp in. Like I can't grasp onto because I don't have that challenge that the game has told me.
Because that was the only way I could maintain interest in playing Minecraft, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I think that's almost just like your brain is tuned differently if you're able to just go in and like treat something like a, it's like the difference between a bucket of Legos and a set of Legos you buy at the store that you're like, I'm going to build this castle or whatever. Yeah. This is a weird one that I've been thinking about because I'm just replaying a bunch of RPGs at the moment. But in pretty much all party-based RPGs, I rotate my if there's not XP share, I rotate my party out to keep everyone at a consistent level. Like I don't like this sort of no child left behind. I have 4 characters I use, and everyone else is on the bench at like level 15 at the end of the game. So that kind of makes things a little bit harder because you have no super OP character other than usually the main character who's at the highest level because they're in every battle. Yeah, I think it's also part of it is because there's a fear that like there's a handful of games like Final Fantasy VI is one of them where by the end of the game you need to use all of your party members. Like Final Fantasy VI, I think the last dungeon you set all of your party members out in different groups. And so if you just haven't used any of them, you're going to be like, oh, well, this team is going to be very weak in the final dungeon. So I always have a slight fear that some games going to do that with me.
Though, if you turn up there and half your party is Garbo, do you just turn around?
No, I think you can. If half your party's Garble, that probably means the other half of your party is over leveled for the challenge. So like they're able to sort of tank through things.
I pursue this sort of thing in the opposite sense of like, say I play Pokemon, I will actively go and find EVs, get as many EVs as I can, and then evolve all of them, and then my party will be made up of EVs.
I like that. Oops, all EVs.
And that is my goal. And I need to do that before I can defeat the Elite Four.
Yeah.
I remember playing when I played through Persona 4. I did a sort of self-imposed challenge where I stuck with the starting 4 party members and never swapped them out. Not really as a self-imposed challenge, but because I couldn't be asked and kind of to prove a point, I suppose.
Yeah.
Was there any point in the game where it's like, ooh, this dungeon is clearly designed for me to use blank and I don't have them in my party, so I need to...
No, not in Persona 4. I mean, whatever elemental powers you need, like the main character can just swap out.
Yeah, that's a good point. The main character being like the wild card or whatever can fill any gaps you need.
And yes, I've seen Persona 4 main character only, no party members runs. And I've seen Persona 4 stick with the initial persona and not do any persona crafting or changing runs as well.
Izunami the whole way.
Nuts. Yeah, it's mad. Shall we get a super chats? Everyone's got full of ideas.
Super chats. Also, Yahtzee, a couple of people mentioned, so you got something over your shoulder.
Oh, yes. This is my little plush Mortimer friend that I got from Shark Robot, and that you'll be able to buy yourself from Shark Robot.
He's got a knife.
Yeah, it's magnetized. Little magnetized knife. When I got it, the magnet was like halfway up the blade, and I had to sort of work it down to the hilt with my fingers.
Just like a real knife.
Yeah. So bear that in mind if you buy one.
You know what? Tune into Hidden Gems tonight. You might see a couple more of these little
Ooh.
furry critters.
What's
What's
that,
his name?
little Mortimer? I couldn't possibly do that to them.
No,
Don't clear up the mess.
no, oh no.
Lush, you can use them as a towel.
You use them
To
as a
mop
towel.
them about.
Yeah, dry yourself up.
Yes. Anyway, gives $2 and says pics of Ludo and Toffee on Discord for International Dog Day. I put one on Twitter today for International Dog Day. Well,
I've not. I will do that.
there.
Ludo's
It's
on.
International.
Ludo.
It's International Dog's Bum Day. There's
Toffee's on the other
bum.
side. It makes me uncomfortable. Toffee's usually on the other side.
I'll get Ludo.
Depends
Ludo,
what-
come here.
I rearranged the cushions. I was like vacuuming the office over the weekend.
Incredible.
Here's Ludo. International.
There he
Puppy Day.
is.
Woohoo! She was just asleep, so she's very tired. Okay. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, they're cute.
Dr. Theo, member for 7 months in tip jar, and then just gives another $5 and says, I feel like Nintendo is missing out on some potential by not making Nuzlocke an official modifier for the games.
Yeah.
Well, when
that's-
is... yeah, Pokemon is just sort of spinning its wheels, if you ask me.
Yeah, but when is? Well, I mean, sales-wise, it's still making
Well,
so much
well,
money.
quite. I mean, they don't have to innovate, do they?
I think this is it. I think we're about to hit the 30th anniversary in a few years, and I think that's going to be it. Big innovation. M-rated.
Yeah,
You see
you
everything.
think?
Just hanging brain.
Is the
Completely
innovation that the Game Freak employees are gonna unionize and
You just wait.
Ooh.
You all just wait. Super Switch. New Pokemon.
Ooh.
Hachis. Machis. I didn't like the last two games. Make better Pokemon games, please.
Hjorth87 gives 50 Danish kroner and says, have you checked out Tactical Breach Wizards? It's Terry Pratchett meets XCOM and a fun mix of tactics, puzzles, and well-written humor worth a look. I'm actually planning to play that in Yahtzee Tries this week.
ooh?
It's by Tom Francis, who brought us...
Wait,
Gun
we're doing
Points.
puzzles this week.
Oh, shit. Okay, I guess I'll just play it myself in my spare time. Oh, except I
Yeah.
can't, because I'm playing fucking
Oh,
Star Wars
no.
this week.
Fuck's sake.
That's Tom Francis, the guy who
I'll-
did Gunpoint and Heat Signature, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
He interviewed me once, Tom Francis, back when he was a games journalist.
Yeah, look
And
at
now
that.
now he's a more successful indie developer. Fuck you, Tom Francis.
Oh my god. You did go full time, so maybe
Yeah.
that's your secret. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that at some point. Maybe that'll be my retirement. Just make
There you go.
indie games until I'm like 100.
Your retirement is
that's not
becoming
retirement.
a full-time game dev.
It's not retirement. That's
It's
just
my
working as-
hobby. It's the thing I find fun. Anyway,
I bought Heat Signature. I'm excited to play it. I really like Gunpoint.
3 Cores gives 51 PLNs and says, pocket change for my fave podcast. Thanks for all the
Aw,
entertainment and your hard work behind the scenes of Second Wind. Best of luck with ongoing internal improvements and with new shows coming up.
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, we got all sorts of cool shit to show you guys with Archive last year, with Battle Masters today. Or last
Mhm.
good stuff. Yeah, and as a reminder,
f-
Battle Masters it is not a set scheduled series. We are obviously keeping we're going to keep doing them, but they will be ready when they are ready.
Sorry, Toffee's getting really mad about something.
Oh no!
Toffee? What is it? Oh, someone's knocking on my office door.
You
Bear
didn't
with
get,
me 5 seconds.
The problem is you didn't give Toffee an International Dog Day present.
Ludo can do a International Dog Day dance. I'll get her to do it.
Can you confirm or deny that Ludo was the one who actually played Dark Souls during your run? Because there's been
I
some
cannot.
people, some
That's
people who
why,
saw some.
Yeah, that's why my
Canine chat.
commentary. What's up with Yachtzee's camera? Oh, I guess it's probably Eric, you little scamp.
Eric being a scamperoonie. That is gonna just
What's up?
blast into some people.
Sorry about
His
that.
return.
My
Everything all right?
yeah, my kids just thought it was very important that I get this picture they drew for me.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh. Tell him to send
I
a
should
super
probably-
chat next time.
I should probably put one of those on-air lights on the outside of my office door. Not that they know what that means. Yes, Verbuchte Herr der Dunkelheit gives 10 euros and says, Meisterkleister Heister gives 9 Reichsmark and says, Fox D gives 5 Monopoly dollar and says, a superb owner gives 3 Tulnips and says, fill my ass up gives no money and pays with Expure instead and says, hi Toffee.
That was a mouthful. You did great. I'm very proud of you.
That was an asshole.
The confusing
Thanks,
thing
James.
is the next super chat is from actual Fox D. who was
Yes,
referenced.
the real Fox D then gives $5. It says playing a cozy game and trying to complete the main story in as few in-game days as possible. Can do it on slow speed, but in-game time is the score. Well, that doesn't sound like a very cozy experience.
No, it's funny because that seems like it's like not spitting in the face, but like going completely against what the game was set for. Like I'm sure there's some people who've done that in like Stardew, right? Like pretty
That's
hardcore.
a good challenge,
Stardew
right?
runs.
That could be a Battle
Yeah,
Masters episode of most profitable season.
Yeah,
On YouTube, I've seen challenge runs along the lines of complete the entire objective list within the first year of Stardew Valley.
man. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that almost feels like you'd have to like schedule out your time beforehand and be like, all right,
Yes.
by the end of this month, I need to do blank. And
Yeah, that'd be good for Battle Masters. Like, you have 10 days to make as much money as possible. How
Stardew,
you do
yeah.
it is entirely up to you.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
I just said that.
Man, Yahtzee, what a great idea. What would we do if we didn't have you?
I know. Got so many good ideas.
I
Yeah.
quit.
Man, remember when there used to be 3 people on this podcast? Whatever happened?
So maybe do it. So maybe do it.
You know what? You're the
Sometimes
Battle Master. You're fine. You got a copy of the Adventureland, the toy.
Yeah, true. Very
You know
true.
what? I've got a text file open in case we get good ideas for Battle Master challenges. I'm gonna put that in there.
We've already got
That's
a
a good
few off of the fans here.
Yeah.
All right. BS Marsh gives $2 and says Battle Masters was great. Jermaine's prize was hilarious.
Ah, yes. An action figure from the hit George Clooney, Brad Bird film Tomorrowland.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Jack's Chamber of Trash.
It's the fact they named one of the characters Dave, and then another one of the main characters David. Like,
Yeah, well, that's just true to life. There's a lot of people called David.
Yeah.
My brother's called David. He went to school with 2 other Daves, so they were called Dave, David, and David.
I'm the same.
lot of
There's
A's in the
people
middle
called
there.
James, but I didn't name 2 out of the 5 characters in my book James.
I mean, we do have several Jessies, or 2 Jessies.
We have a lot
Yeah.
of Jessies.
We have multiple Jessies.
Yeah, the Escapists, we had a Jesse Ryder as well. A lot of Jessies.
Palash T gives $1.99 and says Hitman is based entirely on this topic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
which
a
I
good
think-
what's a good challenge run for Hitman? I think it's just like no suit changes, silent assassin.
Yeah.
Win.
Yeah. Yeah, no suit changes is neat. And the neat thing about Hitman is that they'll fold in sort of like themed and different, almost in the same way that we're talking about Animal Crossing. Like every Christmas they bring back a certain challenge on a level to where it's like a museum or like a mansion. The level gets Christmas themed, and one of the challenges is to beat pretty much the Wet Bandits from Home Alone. There's like the 2 robbers in the basement robbing a bunch of shit who look like the Wet Bandits from the movie. And I think that's a neat little seasonal challenge.
I like that.
Yeah. I just remembered a YouTube challenge video for Hitman I once saw that was just, can I beat Hitman without breaking any laws? So to do all the assassinations, they just have to leave banana skins next to ledges and pretend it was an accident.
It's not, this is just inconveniently placed. This isn't this isn't against the law at all. Incredible.
SPS Guru 2000 gives €5 and says, I prefer making things easy for myself, except stealth games, because I feel I am violating the spirit of stealth if I have to resort to open violence. Well, that's always been my attitude. But, is sneaking up behind someone and slitting their throats better than shooting them in a gunfight face to face?
Yeah. Well, that'll be the topic of next week's.
Yeah, I'd rather get shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Undertale, even though I haven't played it, that kind of brings the challenge run to just the way you think about the game, right? If you're going to go pacifist or if you're going to go, was it genocide? Is that the other run where you kill everything? Yeah. Almost turns specific runs of the game into those things, but through a narrative way.
Fox D gives $10 and says, my favorite New Vegas challenge is the no vendors, no gambling run. You can only make money from non-repeating quests and can only spend it on things that can't be crafted. Weapon mods, implants.
Okay. It seems weird to ban gambling in New Vegas, but who are we to judge?
That's the fun part, right? How about you can only make money from gambling and
Your
stealing?
character's just got
Well, then you're just playing.
a deep gambling addiction.
Then you're just playing Leisure Suit Larry 1, aren't you?
Do you make all your money that by gambling?
Yep. It's literally the only way. I hope you like save scumming.
Oh, do I?
Or just being scum if you're playing Leisure Shoot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, do I?
Well, quite. Sovereign gives €10 and says, "Loved Battle Masters. Can't wait for more. My sympathies for KC and RIP Jesse's bum." On topic, in stealth games, but I always feel the need to neutralize every guard and security system. Can't just pass them. Well, you want to feel safe, sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like almost specific things like that turn into like compulsions that I have to do. I'm usually like, if I can get through something, it's good enough for me. But like,
Well,
yeah,
I have
don't
to
know.
when I'm playing a Souls-like, I feel like I have to kill every enemy at least once. Like I
Okay.
can't just sprint past them to the next checkpoint.
Sure. Those kind of runs are for like if you need to make a boss run and you've already gotten there by killing everything. You're like, okay, if I just want to
Yeah.
get to the boss, I'll just sprint past anything. I think that's fair. Yeah. I feel like I'll always, if I'm like going through a dungeon or something and I know, oh, if I go through this door, this is going to advance the story, I will always see what is down the other, every other corridor. And I kind of hate when I think I'm going down the optional route and all of a sudden I enter a cutscene and I was going down the main story route and now I'm locked from going backwards and seeing what was in the other optional routes.
Hate it.
Hate it.
Witticism gives $5 and says, "My favorite flavor of optional challenge is when roguelikes have risk-reward modifiers. I like adding an extra wrinkle if I get something extra for it."
Yeah, I think I credited that to Supergiant, which I don't know if they were the first to do it, but I know that's obviously a big thing in the genre now. People like their risk reward.
Yeah. It's a pretty standard game design principle. Sebastian Tanasi gives $2 and says, "Skyrim roleplay, Punch Cat."
Punch Cat?
Is a reference going over my head, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't know what Punch Cat is.
Khajiit that punches. Just that's their thing.
Just being a punchy cat.
Just being a punchy cat.
I can get down with just a cat who punches. I like that. I think you also might have skipped Margaret's.
Did I? Oh, yes.
Possibly.
Margaret Selman gives $5 and says, "My idea of a self-imposed challenge was completing every side quest and minigame in Tales of the Abyss. Obscure quests in early 2000s JRPGs are insane."
Yeah. If you try to clear all the side quests off of certain games, that'll just drive you insane.
There's an idea for a challenge. Play a JRPG without switching to English language.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Easy for very select.
Yeah, I could probably get through like Chrono Trigger or Earthbound in Japanese, but I don't think I can get through like Persona or something.
We should do for Battle Masters, like our final episode of season 1 should be we'll do a blindfolded run of a game. See how far we can get.
We should do it where it's like 2-player co-op, or one player's blindfolded and the other one's got a.
That's
like,
the co-op
their
one.
mouth.
Yes, Yacht. That's it. There we go.
Like Portal 2 co-op, but one player's blindfolded and the other one can't move.
I love it. I write that shit down.
This is like the three monkeys. They hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Okay. Portal 2 co-op, one player blindfolded, the other can't move.
That's brutal. Or even if it's just a game where someone's blindfolded and the other person has to guide them on where to go and what to do, and it's as far as we get. Like that's.
I like those. I like when asymmetrical multiplayer games have a thing like that, to where you see everything and you need to like speak to the other player in order to get them to solve the thing.
Yeah,
like you can see the maze from overhead and they're seeing
keep
it.
Talking, keep talking. Nobody explodes.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Where was I? Late to the party gives $4.99. Says, "Just finished watching Battle Masters and absolutely loved it. Congrats on the launch."
Thanks, Late to the party.
Yes,
we're super happy with
it. We've never been this excited about something internally. Like you tweeted about it, didn't you? About us watching it together.
Yeah, we all had a watch party because we wanted to see who won. We didn't know up until then. Well, you did because they mailed you the fucking prize, didn't they?
Yeah, but you keep it quiet. But it is super entertaining. Like, and we all actively get in a massive group call with all the staff and like put our cameras on to see
Yeah.
each other's reactions. It's so fun, and we've all been
Mhm.
so excited to show it to the community. And
Yeah.
I'm glad people are liking it.
I hope it's as fun for the community to watch as it is for us to make. Because I've heard it said if it seemed like the crew were having a lot of fun making a film, odds are good the audience won't like it as much. And conversely, if it seems like
they won't.
yeah, and conversely, if it seems like the people making the film were having no fun at all, the end result would be a really popular film that everyone loves, like The Shining or Apocalypse
Now, everyone dying on
Yeah.
the
river. Fox D gives $2 and says, "Wow, stat squish, the reverse stock split of games."
Yep.
Big Short.
It's weird, and it doesn't feel good when it happens. But then you get over it really quickly.
There you go.
You just forget.
The book The Hare That Uncle Height gives €5. It says, "Back when games came in only one language, it was quite the challenge to beat an RPG a relative gave you in Japanese.
Yeah.
It was memory in hard mode." Fair enough.
Yeah, that's something that I knew some people who. I mean, most of the games are the big Japanese games are released kind of internationally day and date now. But I remember like Persona 5 came out I think 6 months earlier in Japan than it did in the West, and I knew some hardcore Persona fans who like imported it, beat it in Japanese, and I'm like, literally one of the first things in the game they say is like, "Oh, go into the train station and take the Shibuya exit or whatever," and that would be for me literally impossible if they weren't telling me to do that, because I'd be like, "Where am I?" I guess it's like being actually lost in a foreign country. So
That's mental. I respect it, but that's mental.
really.
Last Demosaz gives 50 somethings and says, "Open world, no fast travel for me." I think it depends on the game.
Yeah.
Just Cause 2, I always thought was fun with no fast travel because it's just fun to traverse that game.
We were talking about that last
Right.
week with Spider-Man as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Spider-Man or even Sunset Overdrive. Yeah.
I didn't even know Spider-Man had a fast travel mode. I think I would enjoy playing something like Skyrim with no fast travel because that would give you a more immersive narrative experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it recently
In my
that
view.
is it like Red Dead that doesn't have like traditional fast travel? It's almost like you set your horse to like autopilot and then you kind of watch him go
GTA
through.
had like the fast travel in GTA was always kind of awkward to use as well.
Yeah. And then recently, didn't Dragon's Dogma, like you could take like the carts from one city to another, and you could choose whether it just passed the time or if you wanted to actually go along with the ride. And
That was a huge pain in the ass, though. I mean, in GTA and Red Dead Redemption, traversal is sort of the core gameplay in that.
And I feel like there was enough fun stuff to do, whereas I just didn't get the feeling in Dragon's Dogma 2 that there was. Once I'd seen the stuff once, I kind of didn't want to see it again.
Hunter Road gives $10 and says, "I'm a big fan of randomizers. There's something really satisfying about figuring out your way around a game map while using game knowledge and movement tech to get to places you're not supposed to."
Yeah. There's some other cool ones that I've seen at GDQ that'll be like a co-op randomizer, and not in that they're in the same game, but like two players are playing randomized Ocarina of Time, and they're both in the same seed. So they both have the same game world, so they'll go off in different directions, and like one will try to beat the Deku Tree dungeon, and another one will make a beeline for Death Mountain, and they'll share information with each other and be like, "Oh, if you need
Interesting.
if you need the Ocarina, it's in the bottom of this dungeon," or "Don't worry about going to Death Mountain because nothing here is useful."
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta be real smart. You gotta know those games like the back of your hand, though.
Yeah. Yella gives £5 and says, "Really don't get why Blizz stick with leveling between X packs. Eye level on gear is just as important, so why not tie power to gear and no stat squish needed?" Oh, this is getting a bit technical for me.
Give abilities. It's to give all of the abilities they add in expansions. They want to give away to tie that to a level, to give you something to do. Eye gear level doesn't necessarily give you new powers and toys to play with.
Okay, I've zoned out now.
Yeah.
Does each expansion raise the level cap?
Yes. And they've squished that as well. We went all the way to 120, and then they squished it down to 60 again, and now we're back on 80.
Oh, funny.
Oh man, you just can't be held back, can you?
I mean, it's what ostensibly a character people have been playing for 20 years.
I've been
right?
playing my character. I was thinking about this yesterday. I've been playing that character, my monk, for 16 years.
Man,
Yeah.
they're old enough to consensually make love in some
Yep.
countries.
Jesus, I was gonna say drive a car.
Well-
we're gonna get your monk a car. We're not gonna get him.
Well, if they
condoms.
were in England, as Jay is, they could have sex, but they couldn't drive a car.
This is true, yeah.
Rough.
So let's get him to
You have to
America
be-
so we can beep beep.
I think it's 17 before you can get a provisional license in the UK.
Yep. No, you can get. I think you can get your provisional at 16, but 17 is when you can legally do your test and
Right.
drive. I got my
Yeah.
license when I was 17.
Okay, Fox D gives $5 and says American Truck Simulator with the onboard sat nav turned off, navigating only by road signs. Kudos to the devs for making this actually feasible. Yeah, sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying. Are there other open world games that you can just navigate based on like? When playing Watch Dogs 2, the one that took place in San Francisco. I remember having times where I would just turn all the HUD and everything off and be like, okay, if the mission is in the Presidio, I know how to get to the Presidio, and then kind of drive through there. Yeah.
Would they name them in the quests? Would they be like, it is in this building? Because usually they would rely.
Yeah, I
on
would say like visit
Quest
whatever
markers.
like the Google or Facebook analog is. Their offices are located in the Presidio, and if you know the city, you kind of know the general direction
cool.
that park is in.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Old Hunter 77 gives $10 and says original Assassin's Creed, no HUD. Makes the game truly immersive, challenging, and fun. Even worth a design delve style study, redesign stroke player communication.
Yeah, I mean, I do it out. Not it wasn't out of a want, but early days when I used to play games like Souls or any other game, I would try and get those cinematic shots that I really
yeah.
like. And to do that, I'd have to turn the HUD off. And because it's such a ball ache to go in and turn them off all the time, I would just play these games with no HUD.
Yeah.
Dark Souls plays really well if you just remove all of the UI. And I mean, I even made an episode on, hey, let's remove health bars and see what it does to games.
You know, I've commented on like HUDless games like Dead Space or Jurassic Park Trespasser, and that always feels like they're doing it just to be gimmicky.
Yeah, and they're not really HUDless. It's just diegetic, right? Like it's on his spine and stuff.
Yeah.
I like that. I wish more games would do it,
'Cause-
but being able to contextualize it is just such a ball ache.
Because I think of like games like Half-Life are my other favorite games, and I've never played Half-Life and thought, wow, this game would be so much better if I didn't have an ammo counter in the corner of the screen.
Yeah.
I mean, a good HUD is something that you kind of forget about, right? Like it's there to assist you, but it's
Yeah.
never
I
really-
mean, sort of ironically, Dead Space sort of draws attention to the HUD by making it diegetic.
yeah.
Counterintuitive.
Anyway. John Brooks gives £10 and says, in RPGs, no looting or treasure hunting, only getting money from quest stroke job payments and trade, buying all better gear. And for the Witcher games, only use Witcher gear stroke potions from the books. Well,
Wow.
you'd need to be a bigger Witcher fan than me, I assume.
I'm sure someone's like made a list of those of like what you can and can't use.
That's intense.
I like only getting money from jobs and quests. That's funny.
Yeah.
Like make it seem like, it's I guess more realistic. You have to earn your living as opposed to just randomly.
Yeah.
NPC run.
It wasn't always tenable to like sell vendor trash to make money in Skyrim because vendors would only have a certain amount of gold on them.
Yeah.
So you could give them a few like dragon bones, and then they just wouldn't have any more gold to give you. So you just have to like go to the
I
next
like that.
town over.
I like
It was
that.
like buying the equipment for murdering someone and having to go to 5 different stores to assuage suspicion.
Mhm.
Not that I've murdered anyone or thought about this to an inordinate degree. Moving on, Soul of Men gives $5 and says Halo Series LASO, legendary difficulty, all skulls on.
Jesus.
First games I played that had built-in optional challenges that made the game much harder.
Yeah, that's intense. Yeah, the skulls in Halo, that was almost like the equivalent of those modifiers we were talking about with I don't think they give you anything extra, but it's mostly just to make the game more challenging, and you have to find them in the levels and everything. That's intense.
Hmm.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
Do you guys care about achievements anymore? I remember really giving
Oh,
a
really?
shit about getting achievements when I was younger and like
I did on the
on the
yeah,
Xbox
like when they were
I
introduced on the
didn't
360 generation. I did. I think once I
I
started
couldn't
doing
care
this
less
for a
now.
living, I stopped caring.
No, as a narrative-focused game enjoyer, I just do
Hmm.
exactly what's required of me to get to the story end and no more.
Okay, fair.
Ember White gives $10 and says, Yahtzee, we know you love a good sea shanty and story, but I'm surprised I've never heard you mention Moby Dick before. It is both holy and unholy, with so much packing to unpack and furling to unfurl. Yeah, I've never read Moby Dick for the main reason that every time I've heard anyone talk about it, they say it's one of the most boring books ever written.
It's very dense.
But, yeah.
A lot like Ulysses and that thing, to where it's you.
I mean, I remember reading a graphic novel version of Moby Dick once, and even that I found rather really fucking
The
dull.
pictures of the whales couldn't save you from how dry it was.
Well, we don't get to the whale till the very end. That's the point. It's like
Oh,
following this one dude's hubristic search for revenge against nature.
what a
I'm
dick.
I'm replaying the Dreamcast RPG Skies of Arcadia for an upcoming episode of the Archive, and there's a character who's pretty much just is a one-legged air pirate who is obsessed with finding the whale that killed his son. So
Right.
that's pretty much Moby Dick. Who needs Moby Dick when you got 1999 JRPGs?
Did you know old-timey whalers used to turn the foreskins into overcoats?
We still do that in
Whales.
Wisconsin, actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
not just
they
whales,
take-
anything.
They take the whale's foreskins and turn them into overcoats.
Yeah, great.
I'll
Come on,
just let
Assassin's
you.
Creed, get your crafting. Get your crafting.
I'll just
on.
let you form a little mental image of that while I move on to the next super chat. Ember White gives $5 and says, Marty, your deadpan hooks are my favorite thing about the podcast. And Jabate, welcome to the show.
You sent
You're
that in
new here,
before
I
Yahtzee
see,
gave you a
Ember White.
foreskin fun fact, so you
Yeah.
can amend that. Don't worry.
Another dono for appreciating Yahtzee's foreskin.
Yeah, a
There you
fiver
go.
for the foreskin.
I have a lot of foreskin anecdotes. Did you know that the rings around Saturn are supposed to be the discarded foreskin of Jesus after his circumcision?
I
And
don't think that
again,
one's
I'll leave
true.
you to contemplate that while I move on to the next
That
super
one.
chat.
That one can't be.
I have never been like shocked into silence in my fucking life.
Also, Alien Romulus is all about a space station that they have like 36 hours before it collides with the rings of a planet. And now I'm just thinking that at the end of Alien Romulus, it collides with a bunch of foreskin.
Oh no,
There
we're
you
gonna collide with the foreskin. We've got to get
Jesus' foreskin, no less. Witticism gets $2 and says, an extra $2 for Marty predicting my super chat.
Oh yeah, I think that was the one
Well,
on
yes.
the Hades modifiers.
There you go. Fox D gives $5 and says, to Yahtzee's point about Minecraft, I had a Sims 4 game going during the pandemic that existed entirely to give content to a Post Your Story forum.
You'd have
What
something to
is-
motivate
well,
you, right?
Man, you must
What
have been
is-
excrementally bored.
It was the Pandy. We were all
The
we were all
Pandy.
the Pandy.
Well, I spent the pandy getting hand shandies.
Oh no!
I spent the pandy doing this.
Read-
Becoming a YouTuber.
We all spent the Pandy working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reading the dandy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cameron Eads gives $10 and says, thought Twilight Princess was easy, so I tried it with only 3 hearts and 2 bottles as my first self-imposed challenge. Ganon is actually scary when he can drop you in 3 hits through his whole fight.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's funny to hear you say that. I mean, I've played a lot of Souls-like boss fights where the dude could do me in like 1 or 2 hits.
The
Yeah,
game
you know,
balance is super important.
So I
for-
just play Souls-likes like I'm supposed to avoid getting hit at all.
I mean, I think you're meant to play it like that anyway.
Yeah. So
It is,
really, any points you put into health is kind of a waste of time if you take that approach.
It depends how
Going-
much you can get hit. Maybe you're just shit hot and you just
Going
never
through
get
the
hit,
Elden Ring
but-
DLC with Jack has been such a humbling experience. He is so fucking good at that game.
Oh yeah.
I think he's only got
And
one.
yes.
Well, we'll see because
Yes.
he's pretty much all the tough bosses except for the final boss of the DLC. But like, he just one-shotted. I guess, well, spoilers, there's a boss named Bale in the DLC who's very tough and very cool. And he just one-shotted him. Like,
Mhm.
just
And yet,
on that
came
point,
6th in Battle Masters.
yeah. Who won? Who won Battle Masters, Marty?
It was
Who-
you.
who-
I didn't realize that
have-
we just couldn't compliment our coworkers on this stream.
No, who halved Jack's time?
You know what? I'm talking about Bad Masters episode 3. Who won that one? 'Cause I don't think it was you.
Oh shit!
We don't know who won that one yet. but
Yeah,
I'm
know,
quite,
I know for sure I did not. Spoilers. Oh my god, did I do badly?
I'm quietly confident.
Okay.
But then I was quietly confident about my Dark Souls run because, I didn't die at all. But, I underestimated how much other people would take it seriously.
I know.
Yeah, what a bunch of sweaties we work with.
Oh well. Sounds like loser speak to me.
Random.
Jeremy Gola gives $5 and says, I saw Jamate with a bird in the Battlemasters preview and thought Second Wind had landed parrot enthusiast Joey Cayman of DMC fame.
That's a really
DMC
good
fame.
goof. On our DMC streams a few weeks ago, a character shows up, and the character is like a middle-aged black guy. And I went to look. We were like, "Oh, whose voice is this guy?" We went to look it up, and it is the man that Eric is currently showing, who is a white man surrounded by parrots. And I was just like, "This is the man who voiced the character we just met." Shout out to the birds, though. Folks love birds.
Big shout out to birds. Yeah, the one in the thumbnail is my sister's. Well, technically my dad's, but my sister's budgie. It's not a parrot. Even though I call it a parrot, called Georgie, and it loves. If you let it out of its cage,
Marty.
it will fly out of your head.
You would say parakeet, Marty.
Which is different than a parrot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
'cause
parrot.
A parrot mimics. Like this man has parrots on him.
Well, a
Correct?
parrot
Yeah.
doesn't just mimic; it's a different bird.
Mm.
It's a different type of burb.
Gotcha. Wait,
mistaken
what's
it
the
for a
name of the
parrot.
bird that you had in your head? Like the name
Georgie.
of like Georgie. Oh,
And
like
it,
from It?
if you let it out its cage, it will always fly to the new person in the room and sit on their head.
Hmm.
And I was chosen. So.
I had a budgie growing up. His name was Basil.
That's a good name. It's a good bird name. Good anything name.
Wouldn't have been as good if I used the American pronunciation, though.
Oh,
Basil.
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 You know, the first
What
time
is
I
it?
ever heard it pronounced Basil was Austin Powers.
What is it with Americans pronouncing herbs wrong? And they even pronounce the word herbs wrong.
We got places to go. We got things to do. We gotta
What
get
is
through our
wrong with
words.
America pronouncing most things wrong?
I know.
It's infuriating.
Deal with it?
I've always said leisure-
Fahrenheit boys for life.
I've always said Leisure Suit Larry because I think that scans a lot better. Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah,
Your
no.
tonsils get caught up on that first syllable.
Aluminum. Aluminium.
Aluminium. Get the fuck out of here. Grasping at
It's
straws.
almost like we assume it ends with IUM, like literally every other element that ends with IUM.
Rubidium.
Larry Fix gives $1.99 and says, I'm excited for Crypt Custodian, same dev as Islets.
Yeah, that comes out this week.
Oh,
We'll
does
have
it?
Javed is working on a bite-sized review of it, and I've gotten a chance to play almost the entire thing. Thumbs up, big thumbs up. No spoilers, big thumb.
Rose Delta gives $5 and says, challenge, who can get to the moon first in Ass Blasters? Ask Jamate.
As blasters. So this is a game from DevHeads that we created.
Okay.
We get our screenshot and we pitch a game based on the screenshot. And this one was a GIF that Tina left for us of a dude dancing with rocket like jet fuel coming out his ass. So we made a game about like a weird quap walking game where you could blast stuff out your ass. So I think Ass Blaster would get to the moon first, right? That's the end goal.
Yeah, the end goal is for Ass Blaster to meet his family on the moon.
Yeah.
And you thought the foreskins were the highlight of the discussion.
There we go.
Anyway, Senu gives $5 and says, not really a challenge run, but beating Batman Arkham Asylum City or Night in one sitting in an all-nighter is a lot of fun. Well, some of us have our responsible parents, I'll have you know.
I feel like Asylum, is pretty doable. That feels like a smallish game in my head, whereas
Yeah.
Asylum
I mean-
or City and Night feel like big old open world games.
Are we talking like story end or 100% completion here?
Probably
Story,
just
I'm
story
assuming.
end.
Because 300 Riddler trophies in one night, you'd go mad.
That's too many. That's how the Riddler went crazy.
That's how he wins.
That's his origin. That's how he wins.
That's how the Riddler wins. You do all of his riddles and you go batshit.
I always thought one of the many problems with Suicide Squad was that the Riddler never seemed to have much to say on the subject of Batman turning evil. Because here was a dude whose entire motivation for 4 games was showing everyone what an asshole Batman was. And this must have been all his Christmases come at once, and he had nothing to say on the subject.
Well, that's like his life goal is finally met. So like maybe he felt like he peaked and he didn't know what to do.
So he decided to do more useless
Yeah.
riddles.
Just find
Classic
someone else
position.
to send riddles to, apparently.
There you go.
Fox D gives $2 and says, sings, "These are the Daves I know, I know." Well, I don't know the tune to that.
Me neither.
Is it Dave the Diver? We got Dave the Diver in the bottom corner.
Well, referring to like the Daves we were talking about earlier. People called Dave and David.
Oh, I completely forgot we were talking about Dave's earlier. I erase everything from my mind, including.
I
things we
have
talked
forgotten about
on
that.
this episode. Yeah.
Rose Delta gives $2 and says, Starstruck Vagabond, get Sill, no save scumming. Now, it's not that hard to get Sill, Rose Delta, especially if you get them like mid or late game. It's very easy to accidentally get someone else before you get Sill.
You
Because
would
Sill's
say
the
that, though,
hardest.
you make the game.
Sill's the hardest crew member to get because you can only get them in systems that don't have civilized planets. And if you're just sticking to delivering stuff, then you don't really have a reason to go to sectors with no civilized planets.
Yeah.
There you go.
But if you're the kind of person who likes, surveying uncivilized worlds, then you're more likely to run into them.
Yeah.
Steve Wheeler gives £5 and says, my self-challenge for Breath of the Wild, stealth kill as many enemies as possible. Many a fun hour spent staking out goblin camps.
Hell yeah. I like sneaking up behind those little boys and giving them a big old stabby.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of games where you could sneak up and stabby dudes.
Stabby.
Environment kills for me. It's like if I can roll a boulder or use the
Set a
environment.
bunch of grass on fire.
Yes.
That's what I will.
And pretend it was an accident and that you're actually Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just stumbling around.
The Merchant of Life gives £10 and says, Dwarf Fortress, a game I love to death, but before the stream launch, I could maybe play for 30 minutes before becoming lost or everyone dead. Definitely a certain kind of hard.
There you go. That game just seems like a self-imposed challenge.
Everyone who plays it seems full of praise for it. And yeah, it's basically just a life sim thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's when you dig into it, it just becomes your life.
Damn.
Apparently.
D Fortress.
Robo Knob the Snob gives €5 and says, just saying hi because I haven't donated in a while, so ciao. Thank you very much, Robo Knob the Snob.
Legend.
I hadn't noticed that you haven't donated in a while.
I went to therapy last week and I said I haven't seen Robo Knob in a while and I hope they're all right.
Geldon Yittich gives $5 and says, in Bethesda games like Skyrim, Fallout 4 or Starfield, most character builds break the balance around level 30, so I tried to invent rules to fix it. Well, don't hold out on us, Geldon Yittich. Donate more money and then tell us some of your
We'll sit here until you've sent in more.
That's interesting. Rules. That's interesting that you get to a certain point where it's like, I need to think I'm too strong for this game. I need something to hold me back.
Night Breeze gives $5. Says, I love randomizers, but they're insane. My last Sekiro run spawned a demon of hatred on a tiny bridge, and in Dark Souls 3, I got Frida and Nameless King together.
Jeez.
Yep, those Dark Souls players have always got to find new ways to challenge themselves. I saw what if every enemy was replaced with Manus, Father of the Abyss in Dark Souls.
God.
On YouTube. God. You probably have to do a lot of running away, I assume.
I don't even. What would you happen in like if you went down into sewers or like somewhere with like narrow hallways?
Yeah, I assume you have to do a lot of rolling under people's crotches.
A lot of the randomizers I've watched for Souls games have had, especially the Elden Ring ones. Every door you go in will take you to a random area, but every boss that's in that area is. The further you get away from the start point, things get harder and harder and harder. So the difficulty that the enemies, how hard they hit and the health they have relative to your power and your weapons scales based on that distance you travel. Which really makes it less of, Melania has spawned in this tiny room, and I'm just fucked. Like it's undoable, right? That's a fun way of doing it.
Gay Bear Bro 2 gives $10 and says, someone played Final Fantasy XIV from 2.0 to 6.56, End of Endwalker, without attuning to the teleport points. Aside from the required ones, they walked, used airships or ferries, and rode mounts, but no teleport.
That is disgusting.
I have never played Final Fantasy XIV,
Don't.
so I've got no context for that.
Indie Mouse, I hope you hear this. Don't. I have a video plan on this. That game has the worst pacing of any game I've ever played. Like it's garbage.
But it gets good after 100 hours.
It took me 250 to complete the story before it allowed me to play any endgame stuff. So
then it gets good.
Indie Mouse is in chat. What's up, dude?
Yeah, Indie Mouse is in. I noticed he was in for the Battle Masters premiere. I wasn't sure he was in for this. SVS Go 2000 gives €10 and says, weren't Saturn's rings only first discovered after the telescope was invented? I remember reading that at first they were considered large moons because the quality of the telescopes were too low. I don't know.
You're the foreskin expert. Tell us.
I don't know. I can't even remember who it was that decided the foreskin was the rings were the foreskin of Christ. I think it was like a evangelical Christian thing.
Oh, never mind. Probably not John Cleese.
Probably like old-timey Catholic Church doctrine.
Ronald Reagan.
Probably around the time Galileo was mapping out the universe and the church was having to come up with more and more things to explain all the shit he was finding.
Shouts to Copernicus.
Copernicus?
Yeah. He's great.
Skinnicus.
Polish. Arguably a top 5 Pole ever.
Okay. SVS Go 2000 gives €5 and says, Kerbal Space Program Challenge. First one to establish stable orbit and safe touchdown stroke splashdown after deorbiting.
I feel like I would just blow up on launch.
Sounds like it would be pretty boring, actually.
I feel like the challenge for us would need to be just can you leave the ground without exploding and killing everyone aboard? My answer would probably be no, I can't. Did you ever get into Kerbal? Did either of you ever get into Kerbal?
No.
I'm too intimidated by it. Every time I had friends at uni who used to play it while they should have been doing their work, knobheads. But I would look over and just see how complicated it was, and I'd be like, I'm never playing that game. That looks too much for me. It's probably really accessible, I don't know, but it just looks too much.
Fox D gives $2 and says, it's a Kids in the Hall reference, you children.
Hey, they're Canadian. We don't understand these Canadian references. I think that was the Dave's goof. We didn't know the Dave's goof.
And then Blue McDay's Nuts gives $2 and says, suggest NES World Champs and Green Demon in Mario 64.
Oh, Green Demon's funny. Green Demon is it works in most levels in Mario 64, but you spawn there's certain points where you can spawn a 1-up mushroom, and the thing spawns and then tracks towards you, and it moves a little bit faster than you do. And so usually it spawns and then it just kind of homes into you and you get it. And you need to spawn the mushroom and then run and collect all 8 coins. 8 red coins while the thing is chasing you, and it moves faster than you, so you need to use like movement tricks and try to get it to like jam behind things in the environment. So it's like being chased by something that just wants to love you. It's very funny.
The stupid speedruns like that are my favorites, like Nipple Percent in Odyssey. You guys heard of Nipple Percent?
Is that like first one to get the shorts? So that
first one to get Mario's nipples out fastest to do that. It's such a great.
I've seen someone play Sonic 3 with getting the magnetized shield and then get through a whole level being chased by a ring.
Oh, that's great! I love that.
I think they were using slow motion though. It was tool assisted.
What good games.
All right. Well, that's the end of the super chats, except for Gelden Yetic, member for 9 months in tip jar, but he didn't leave a chat. Yeah, strong silent type. But yes, thanks for watching, stroke listening to the Windbreaker podcast. Remember to check out Battle Masters. The first episode came out today. Don't know when the next one will be. We've got a rule in place that we'll only put out one when we've got the next episode ready.
Yeah,
and we're working on a 3rd episode. So once that's done, we'll put out the 2nd episode.
Yes.
If you follow me, Yes, I was Yahtzee Crucial. I was joined by Jay
It me.
and Marty.
Yay!
One more. Dimitri gives 10 Canadian dollars and says, because of my refusal of incantations, greases, stance breaks, or physiques, I inadvertently played a challenge run in Elden Ring on my first playthrough. Have you three ever made games harder for yourselves? Well, that's kind
what
of
this
what this whole topic has been, Dimitri. Thanks for showing up at the last one.
Dimitri, that was
Dimitri's
his whole
watching the
topic.
episode in reverse, just trying to get to.
Mementoing.
Yeah.
It is funny watching like Jack uses things in I just usually don't use a lot of items in those games, and so watching Jack play, I'm like, oh man, I should have really used some of these items. Like this seems like this makes bosses just way easier than I was doing them. Yeah.
I'm one of those terrible hoarding, but I might need it later types.
Mhm.
Right, so what else we got coming up this week? If you want stuff by me, I got my usual fully ramblomatic episode coming out on Wednesday.
Mhm.
It will be on the subject of Crime Scene Cleaner, which I
Ooh.
played the full version of since it came out on Steam. I've also got my usual stream on Wednesday. It won't be a traditional Yahtzee Try stream because Jesse's away and he can't do his editing this week. So I'll be doing a different kind of stream.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm being coy. I'm going to play the New York Times crossword with Marty and hopefully Jess Hoops if she can make it.
There you go.
That'll be fun.
I've also got a semi-emblematic dropping on Thursday. That one will be on the subject of when is it appropriate to make your game boring?
Ooh.
That'll go. Everyone have a bit of a think on that.
Oh no.
Straight up.
And yeah, that's my stuff. Also, Adventurers Night on Saturday, which I am a part of, as always. Although I'm not actually doing anything to put out that video. I did all my work on that, like literal years ago now, I think.
You front loaded your contribution. Yeah.
So that's it for me. What else we got?
We've got quite a lot.
Yeah, in terms of other streams this week, we'll have Hidden Gems later this evening, 6 p.m. Central. Jess will not be joining the boys because Jess is currently moving houses and does not have internet yet, but Casey and Jesse will be playing Spark the Electric Jester 3. Tune into that. And then tomorrow, Jay, you and I at noon Central, so the same time as this podcast, we're going to see 2 hours of World of Warcraft: The War Within. You're going to show off your character from the past 16 years?
My dude, Lo Chi. Yeah, and I'm going to be able to talk to everyone why I love this game so much and why I'm still playing it after so many years. And
yes, explain yourself.
Explain yourself. And also, to lead from that, my next design delve is also on World of Warcraft. It will be a structured version of that video just for you, Indie Mouse. I'm going to make a WoW video just for you. Finally getting a stream to fall asleep to. I fucking love you, dude.
I want to make sure you take us to pretty places. I want to see pretty places.
There is an area in the new expansion that is probably one of the prettiest places they've ever made.
Hell yeah. Take me to the good vibes.
Yeah.
And then Yahtzee tries and Firelink on Wednesday. No Devil May Cry on Thursday because, like Yahtzee mentioned, a huge chunk of the crew, including KC, will be at PAX West this weekend. So no streams on Thursday, and then Friday. Jay, you guys have Dev Heads, correct?
Yes, we got Dev Heads. We have a guest. I've forgotten who it is.
We
can have a discussion about it today, but
well, I guess it's not a Tim Schafer level name, is it?
Yeah,
you'd remember if it was fucking Tim Schafer.
If it was Tim Schafer again, yeah. But yeah, we got Dev Heads. I'm always super looking forward to that. So check out that on Friday, and then what we got anything on the weekend?
No, we'll just have
Adventurers
Night. Yeah, and again, if you're in Seattle, the crew will be jamming around Seattle for PAX this weekend, including a panel on Sunday evening that Jack and Jesse Galena will be hosting. So if you see the crew, say hi. They would love to chat with you.
Hell yeah.
And we got one last super chat in the last minute from Matt233, who gives 10 HK dollars, Hong Kong dollars, I assume. And asks, how's your impression on the monkey arts? Yes, I'm working on my Black Myth Wukong review. It'll be out next week.
Yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed it. Oh, no, go ahead.
I'm sure that'll bring in a huge amount of Chinese people who will probably all get very mad at me.
I think you're doing great. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed indie games because the indie games are over.
Yeah.
Only
Yes, indie games are over.
Quadruple A or
next
bust for
yes.
Yahtzee
Summer
for this.
2025, and then
Yes.
open
Yeah,
the
exactly.
again.
So it's back to Souls likes and fucking Ubisoft sandboxes for the foreseeable future.
Your favorite.
Right. Well, I guess that's it from us.
Excellent.
We'll see you all. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Everyone else will see you all when they see you all.
Bye,
See
everyone.
you later. Bye bye.
Bye. Oh, there's one last thing I was going to mention that I forgot to mention. I updated Starstruck Vagabond over the weekend.
Ooh, nice.
And it now includes a dyslexia-friendly mode that was Jay very kindly consulted on, being a dyslexic person.
Incredibly.
So if you were having trouble with the pixely font in that game, hopefully now I can persuade you to shell out for my thing.
Go do it.
Great. Love it.
Check it out.
So yes, that's that. Okay, I'm done now. I'm done plugging
everyone.
stuff.
Bye.
Buy the plush mortar as well. Plug. Okay, that's it.